Well, Diwali season's still some months away, but I tell you what, the whitewashes have begun. It's been a series of whitewashes, isn't it? The T20 series, India whitewashing New Zealand, and then New Zealand returning the favor in home conditions, whitewashing India in the ODI series. And that's what we're going to talk about in Straight Drive. I think let's just talk about, first and foremost, the defining moment in this ODI series that just got over. And that defining moment for me was the first ODI of the series. India getting to 347 on the board, and then chasing that target, New Zealand stuttering, going on to still win thanks to Ross Taylor's magnificent innings. And then the tide turned, because that 348 odd that New Zealand got was their highest run chase ever in ODIs, number one. Number two, it came right after a whitewash in the T20 series where they'd lost 5 on the trot, so the morale was down. The team was probably being written off by fans and foes alike, really, to be fair. But they came back strong. That showed the kind of mindset and resilience that New Zealand have. Also, no Kane Williamson for New Zealand, and yet, despite not having their talismanic captain in the lineup, the side didn't give up. That never say die spirit of New Zealand is what makes them world beaters, and they showed us why. India also did not have Rohit Sharma. Yes, that's a fair point. They tried 2 new openers in the slot, but that experiment worked for India. And I think it's not just about making that experiment work for a one-day series. I think they were also grooming those 2, Prithvi Shaw and Mayank Agarwal, for the test matches to come. So an experiment gone well. In the entire scheme of things, what worked for India? They found a fantastic number 4 in Shreyas Iyer. I think he's been in great form in the ODI series, and that bodes well for India. KL Rahul was anyway in magnificent touch in the T20s, not opening the innings, which was a surprise, and we've debated that point in one of our shows earlier. Yet at number 5, he anchored the innings. He held it all together, showed you that he could score runs anywhere in the batting order. And in fact, the competitiveness that India got to the table was thanks to Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul's form in the middle order with the bat. But okay, I talked about where the tide turned. It was in that first ODI when New Zealand chased down. It was the second highest number of runs that India let go of in terms of a chase and then lost. Australia have beaten them with a slightly higher margin, but allowing an opposition to score 348 against you in a chase and letting them win, I think credit to New Zealand. But that's the second highest chase that India have allowed against them ever. So records being broken, records being set there in that first ODI. Points to be taken back from that game. One, playing Kuldeep on a ground which had smaller boundaries, along with Ravindra Jadeja, going in with 2 spinners on such a ground, the first ODI, raises a bit of questions. One, Jadeja, of course, is a street smart bowler now, so he knows how to get away even on slightly smaller grounds by bowling a slightly more round arm, bowling a line which cramps the batsman. जैसे कहते हैं हिंदी में टांग पकड़ के गेंदबाजी करना. So he can do that. He can actually bowl the arm ball very well, and he can keep things tight even on a smallish ground. Jadeja can restrain the batsman. Kuldeep went for 80 plus in that game and was very, very expensive. And that's one of the things that the management will look back and say, should they have played only 1 spinner and gone in with an additional medium pacer in the ranks? Number 2, could they have given Kedar Jadhav a couple of overs just to split the full quota of 10 of Kuldeep and maybe have a 6th bowler chip in? Go back to the second ODI of the series. Stark contrast from the first, because in this one you had about 80 runs less scored by New Zealand, who made 348 to chase down in that first ODI. They got 273 odd in the second ODI. But there, I think Indian bowling faltered. They had New Zealand on the ropes at 197 for 8. And then allowing them to score another 76 more runs to get to 273 made it a fighting total. And that's where India lost the plot, and not for the first time, that you let the tail wag after getting the top order batsman. In the chase, again, the point to highlight is that the top 5 didn't get as many runs as the bottom 5 in the innings did. And that's because, of course, of Shreyas and KL Rahul showing the kind of form that they have been in. You had Jadeja chipping in lower down the order as well with a handy half century, but a handy set of runs. But the problem is, again, you let the opposition walk away from dire straits and get to a healthier position. The third ODI, again 300 odd posted by New Zealand on the board, raises that question again. India in that playing 11 only had 5 bowlers in that 11. A lot of times you want an additional bowling option as a captain. You want a bowler or a batsman who can roll his arm over and give you 3 or 4 overs, or you want kind of an all-round bits and pieces cricketer who can play as a bat but can bowl as well. And there was no Kedar Jadhav. Manish Pandey did very well, getting a 42 odd in that third ODI, but you didn't have the 6th bowling option, and that's a worry. Shardul Thakur conceding runs on a consistent basis in ODIs, I think, is a cause of worry. Bowling 4 overs in a T20 format, he's shown he's very adept at that format, the change of pace, the variations that he brings to the table. In the slightly longer version, the 50 over version, bowling a 10 over spell and completing the full 10, he's been expensive in New Zealand, and maybe he needs to develop something else in his armory, especially on slightly smaller grounds. How does he get away with it when the change of pace still can carry for 6 or 4? Does he have the ability to come up with something different to fox the batsman? Maybe that's food for thought for Shardul in the days to come. And for India, again, there is a question. One, the fielding has been a little up and down in the series. You got away with dropped catches in the T20s. You didn't get away with dropped catches in the ODI series, especially the first match. One chance that went down, you don't give chances to set batsmen. They can take the game away from you. So the fielding's been a little up and down, and that's something that the team management would like to work on, to see a little more consistency across matches from this Indian fielding unit. And the catching of the team needs to be a little more consistent and not up and down, where you see some brilliant catches on one day and then you see the catches that you expect to be taken in international cricket put down the next day. But if I were to say, going into the test series, where does the momentum lie? I'd say the momentum lies with New Zealand. They've bounced back. A lot of times when you're at the brink, there are only 2 ways to go. Either you fall over or you come back fighting, and that makes you stronger. And I think that's what's happened to New Zealand. They've come back fighting from the brink. They look a stronger team. They're playing in home conditions, and going into the test series, it'll be an interesting battle, but I think New Zealand will have their morale a lot higher going into this series. How does it go? We'll of course talk about that in another show right here on Click Sports Now.